The receptionist handed me a clipboard stacked with forms, her polite smile failing to reach her eyes. Fill these out completely. Mark any high-risk behaviors or medical conditions. Then take a seat until we call you. I nodded, heat crawling up my neck as I slipped into a corner of the plasma center's waiting room. The blue vinyl chair squeaked beneath me, and I stared at the paperwork, my vision blurring. Evelyn Harper, age 53. Current address. My pen hovered, then I wrote my sister Julia's instead. 6 months ago, I would have written the Lakeshore Drive penthouse. 6 months ago, life had seemed secure. Around me, students scrolled through phones. An elderly man dozed. A young woman in scrubs, probably coming off a night shift, methodically completed her forms. All of us here to trade pieces of ourselves for cash. Unlike them, I felt like an intruder in my carefully pressed blouse, the last vestige of my old life, saved for interviews that never came. Just for plasma, I whispered to myself, clicking my pen. Just $40 for Sophie's inhaler. My daughter's asthma had worsened since we lost our health insurance. The medication cost $60, my checking account had $22. I had called every pharmacy in the area, hunting for discounts. No luck. She needed it, and I had no other options. I answered the medical questionnaire honestly. No recent tattoos, no travel to malaria zones. No drug use, no prison. Have you ever fainted during a medical procedure? No. Though I nearly wrote yes, just to have someone watch me a little closer. I hadn't eaten since yesterday's lunch, a peanut butter sandwich in Julia's kitchen while she was at work, the low point in a string of low points. First-time donor? Asked Lily, a young woman in bright scrubs, guiding me to a small screening room. Is it that obvious? I tried to smile. We remember our regulars, she said warmly as she wrapped the blood pressure cuff around my arm. I'm Lily. I'll do your intake today. When she checked my veins, she whistled. You have excellent veins for donation. This will be easy. Some donors are a challenge, but yours practically say hello. At least something about me still works properly, I muttered. Lily raised an eyebrow but said nothing. She swabbed my arm and inserted the needle. A small pinch, barely noticeable. Perfect veins, indeed. As the blood filled the vials, I studied the room. Posters about saving lives, civic duty, science. Nothing about the $40 that had brought me here. Done, Lily said, covering the puncture. I'll run a few tests. If everything's fine, we'll get you set up for the full donation. The reality hit me again, selling my plasma to buy my daughter's medication. How had Evelyn Harper Events, the Chicago powerhouse for 2 decades, crumbled? How had my husband, Nathan, walked away so easily? You've ruined our lives, he said the night he left, blaming me for a catering disaster that had been a mechanical failure. The door opened, and Lily returned, her face pale. Mrs. Harper, I need to, wait a moment. Dr. Carlisle wants to verify something with your sample. Am I sick? No, not at all, she said quickly. It's extraordinary, actually. Please wait, Dr. Carlisle will explain. Minutes stretched. Then, a man in a white coat, mid-40s, entered, eyes bright with excitement, followed by Lily. Mrs. Harper, I'm Dr. Nathan Carlisle, medical director here, he said. We need to discuss something unusual about your blood. Unusual? I echoed. You have what's called RH-null blood. It's called golden blood, the rarest type on Earth. Only about 42 people worldwide have it. I stared. What? It's universally compatible with any rare blood type, Dr. Carlisle explained reverently. Finding a new donor is like discovering a unicorn. My pulse quickened. A pager beeped. Dr. Carlisle glanced, startled, then hurried out. He returned moments later with a tall man in a sharp charcoal suit. "Mrs. Harper, this is Simon Ashford, here on behalf of the Ashford family," he said. His presence demanded attention. "Why am I here?" I asked, bewildered. "Your blood type is the only match in the Western Hemisphere for Alexander Ashford," Simon said smoothly. "He needs heart surgery. We've been searching for a compatible donor for weeks. You're the match." Dr. Carlyle added, "With supervision, donating is safe, though intensive." Simon opened a leather folder. "The Ashford family is offering $3 million for your immediate cooperation. A private jet is ready to take you to Switzerland today." $3 million. 6 hours ago, I had been desperate for $40 for Sophie's inhaler. My company debts alone exceeded $2 million. And now, a stranger was offering to erase it all because of my veins. "This is a joke, right?" I whispered. "Entirely serious," Simon replied, handing me his phone. A transfer of $250,000 glowed on the screen. "A deposit," he explained. My hands shook. "I need to call my daughter." Lily escorted me to a private office. Sophie answered on the second ring. "Mom, is everything okay? Did you get the money?" I explained as best I could. Silence followed. "Mom, this sounds insane," she said finally. "Like organ trafficking or something." I assured her Dr. Carlyle was legitimate, the Ashford family real. "So, you're going to Switzerland? If I do this, we can pay off all debts." "Start over," I said. Another pause. "Then go," Sophie said firmly. "But stay in constant contact, and get everything in writing." I reviewed the contract Simon produced, insisting on every safety measure, donation schedule, an explicit right to halt if my health was at risk. Simon seemed impressed. "You're sharper than expected," he said. "Used to run a multi-million-dollar company," I replied evenly. "Business is business, even now." 3 hours later, I ascended the steps of a private Gulfstream, carrying only my purse and a hastily packed overnight bag from Julia's guest room. If you love real emotional stories, hit subscribe, we post one every day. Lily hugged me goodbye, slipping me her personal number and insisting I let her know I was safe. As the plane taxied down the runway, I pressed my forehead to the cool glass, watching Chicago shrink behind me. Somewhere in that grid of streets and skyscrapers were the penthouse I had lost, the office where I had built my business, and the life I had thought defined me. "Mrs. Harper, can I get you something to drink?" A flight attendant appeared at my side. "Just water for now, thank you," I murmured. My stomach had forgotten how to consider food. Across the aisle, Simon Ashford tapped away on his laptop, switching between German and French in quick calls. From what I could catch, Victor Ashford's condition had stabilized enough for surgery, but time was critical. As the plane leveled, I pulled out my compact mirror. Evelyn Harper stared back, silver strands I'd finally stopped dyeing last year, faint lines around my eyes, and the stubborn jawline my father always said I'd inherited. Nothing in that reflection hinted I carried something so precious. "Mrs. Harper," Simon called, interrupting my thoughts. Victor Ashford's personal physician would like a brief video call to explain the procedure. I joined the call, a strange calm settling over me. 24 hours ago, I had been worthless, a failed businesswoman, abandoned by my husband, a burden on my sister. Now, I was flying across the Atlantic because my blood could save one of Europe's wealthiest men. My value had been hidden all along, coursing through my veins. The private clinic perched above Lake Geneva resembled a 5-star resort more than a hospital. Floor-to-ceiling windows captured snow-capped peaks mirrored in the lake below. My suite was palatial, with a sitting area, marble bathroom, and private balcony overlooking the water, a view that would have cost thousands per night in my previous life. A knock announced Dr. Henry Keller and his team. Distinguished in his 60s, silver-haired with wire-rimmed glasses, he exuded calm authority. 2 nurses followed, quiet and precise. "Welcome to Clinique de Salp," Dr. Keller said, his English flawless with only a light European accent. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "Quite," I replied, still absorbing the surreal shift from desperate plasma donor to VIP patient. Transparency was paramount, he assured, guiding me to the sitting area where my examination would begin. Over the next hour, Dr. Keller outlined everything. Victor Ashford had a rare congenital heart defect that had worsened, requiring urgent surgery with multiple transfusions. His immune system was extremely sensitive, any standard blood would trigger catastrophic reactions. "Your blood is the literal difference between life and death," he said. Several donations would be needed before and possibly after surgery. The nurses took my vitals, drew samples, and performed a thorough assessment. My blood, once worthless to me, was now handled with meticulous care, color-coded and labeled for maximum safety. "When will the first donation occur?" I asked. "Tomorrow morning, assuming your tests confirm optimal health," Dr. Keller replied. "We have a nutrition and hydration protocol to maximize your recovery between sessions." He handed me a leather folder detailing my schedule, diet, and supplements. Later, I stood on the balcony as twilight settled over the lake. The crisp air carried the scent of pine. I tried calling Sophie, who was at work, so I sent her photos and a full update on the medical plan. My phone buzzed with an unexpected message from Gavin, my first in months outside lawyers. "Evelyn, I heard you're in Switzerland for a medical procedure. Are you okay? Should I be concerned?" I hesitated. Then typed, "Not ill. Taking care of business. No need for concern." His reply was instant. "We should talk when you return. I've been thinking about our situation." I laughed, the sound echoing through the suite. The man who had told me I ruined our lives, drained our accounts, and moved in with his assistant suddenly wanted to talk now that I had a path to millions. A knock interrupted me. Simon Ashford entered, carrying a garment bag. "Victor Ashford has requested your presence at dinner, if you feel up to it. The private wing team assures careful monitoring." Inside the bag were a black cocktail dress, matching shoes, and a simple pearl necklace. Pride would have bristled under any other circumstance, but practicality won. I hadn't packed anything appropriate for a billionaire's dinner. 90 minutes later, I was escorted to the private dining room. Victor Ashford, tall but gaunt, with eyes that measured everything, rose slowly to greet me. His voice was steady, commanding. "Mrs. Harper, please join me." A nurse discreetly monitored his vitals. I took the chair, startled by his directness. I never imagined my day would end like this. A faint smile touched his lips. Nor did I expect to meet the woman whose blood will save my life. "Tell me, what led you to that Chicago donation center?" I told him simply, I needed $40 for Sophie's asthma medication. $40? He repeated, incredulous. "It seems remarkable that such a small sum drove someone of your talents to donate plasma. 6 months ago, I'd owned a successful business, a penthouse, and thought my marriage secure. Life can change fast." Victor listened quietly as I recounted the equipment failure, lawsuits, bankruptcy, and my husband's abandonment. And now, here I was, dining with a man willing to pay millions for my blood. "What strikes me most," Victor finally said, "is that you've lost everything external, your company, your home, your spouse, but still possess something invaluable no one can take. Your blood." There's a profound metaphor there. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen. "Perhaps," I admitted softly, though I'd trade metaphorical value for Sophie's college tuition in a heartbeat. The next morning, my first donation took place in a room resembling a spa more than a clinic. I reclined in a heated chair as Dr. Keller's team prepared equipment with precise choreography. 2 nurses monitored me at all times. "We'll take 1 unit today," Dr. Keller said, checking the catheter. "Your comfort and safety are our priority. Alert us immediately to any discomfort." I watched my dark red blood flow into the collection bag. What had been worthless to me yesterday was now treated like liquid gold. "Why is my blood so special?" I asked. Dr. Keller's eyes gleamed. "Most people have rhesus antigens on their red blood cells. You have none. All 61 rhesus antigens are absent, making your blood compatible in emergencies. For Mr. Ashford, your blood avoids severe immune reactions. RH-null is caused by a rare genetic mutation. Odds of finding another match in his family are negligible." The procedure took less than 15 minutes. Afterwards, I was observed for 2 hours while a gourmet meal, pressed juices, and supplements were delivered. The care was extraordinary, a world apart from my Chicago Plasma Center experience. Back in my suite, a small gift box awaited with a handwritten note from Victor Ashford, a token of gratitude for my first donation. The first of many, I hoped, a gift from Victor. Inside the box lay a delicate platinum bracelet with a single ruby charm, simple, elegant, and undeniably valuable. I set it aside, unsure whether it was proper to accept, and called Sophie. "Mom," she answered immediately. "I was just about to call you. Are you okay? Did they take your blood yet?" "Just finished," I assured her. The procedure was easier than I imagined, far more comfortable than the Chicago Center. The clinic is immaculate, and the staff takes incredible care. "That's good," she said, though I caught a note of hesitation. "What's wrong, honey?" "Dad showed up at Julia's, looking for me," Sophie said, her tone hardening. "When Julia told him you were in Switzerland, he started asking questions, about why, who you're with. He seemed calculating." I sighed, unsurprised. "He texted yesterday. Did he say he wanted to talk when I return?" "Yes. He claimed he's been reconsidering things, realized he acted hastily." "Can you believe it?" "Unfortunately, yes," I murmured, moving to the balcony. "Has anything about my blood condition hit the news?" "Nothing specific. There was a brief mention that the Ashford group was flying in a critical medical resource from America for a major procedure. He might have connected the dots. He's always been sharp about money. If he caught wind of this, he'll reappear like a shark circling prey." Sophie's voice dropped. "Mom, you wouldn't consider going back to him, would you?" "Absolutely not," I said firmly. 25 years of marriage ended the moment he walked out. No sum of money could change that. After hanging up, I rested, flipping through Swiss magazines without seeing the pages. My mind returned to Victor Ashford's words, how I'd lost everything external yet carried something extraordinary inside me. The metaphor wasn't lost, but I couldn't shake the thought, was my value now only this biological rarity? Was I again reduced to a resource, this time for my blood instead of my business acumen? A knock interrupted my brooding. Lily, the nurse from Chicago, stood in the doorway. Her familiar smile was a comforting anchor in this unfamiliar world. "Lily, what are you doing here?" I asked. "I arranged with Dr. Carlisle to join the team here," she said. "Since you were the first to identify your RH-null status, they thought you could help streamline the donation process." She looked around my suite, clearly impressed. "Quite an upgrade from our clinic, isn't it?" We settled in the sitting area, and Lily's presence eased my isolation. She explained that she had trained in rare blood disorders but moved to standard plasma collection for financial stability. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "It's a lot to process. Yesterday, I was desperate for $40. Today, a billionaire gives me a ruby bracelet for a single unit of blood," I said, showing her the bracelet. Her eyes widened. He gave you jewelry. I'm not sure if I should accept it, I admitted. It's unusual. Indeed, Lily said carefully. Normally there are strict ethical guidelines, but nothing about this is normal. Simon Ashford appeared with an update. My recovery was excellent, and the second donation was scheduled for the following morning. Surgery was tentatively set 3 days out. Victor had also requested another meeting that evening, believing conversation with me could reduce his stress before surgery. Is that medically sound, or is he just using his condition to get what he wants? I asked. Simon's expression stayed professional, though a flicker of amusement passed through his eyes. With Victor Ashford, those two things are rarely mutually exclusive. After he left, Lily gave me a concerned look. Be careful with boundaries, Evelyn. The power dynamic is already complicated. She was right. I was invaluable and vulnerable, a life-saving resource for a man used to commanding power, yet utterly dependent on me. I needed to navigate carefully. That evening, I received a text from Gavin, called Julia looking for you. Why didn't you mention Switzerland? What medical procedure requires international travel? We should discuss this as a family. I stared at the screen, anger rising. As family? The man who emptied our accounts and moved in with another woman suddenly invoked family ties. I typed, deleted, and rewrote before sending, we're no longer family, Gavin. You made that clear when you left. My medical decisions are not your concern. His reply was instant, don't be hasty, Evelyn. People make mistakes. I've been thinking about us lately. I laughed, setting my phone aside. I watched the lights glimmer along Lake Geneva. Tomorrow, they would take more of my blood, a substance that had transformed me from powerless to indispensable. Its worth had always been there, flowing through me every day, unrecognized. By the third day, the clinic had a routine. Morning nurses greeted me by name. The chef prepared my post-donation meals. Simon had softened slightly. I donated 2 units, with a third scheduled for the next day. My body was holding up, thanks to their meticulous care. Victor's interest in my experience persisted. After our initial dinner, he requested repeated meetings. Each conversation revealed more layers, a man of immense power now dependent on a stranger's blood. You didn't have to accept, he said during a lunch in the clinic garden. Despite his frailty, he insisted on being outdoors. You could have named your price, 10 million, 20. I considered it. Perhaps that's why he's a banker, and I ran events. Different instincts. You accepted quickly but negotiated carefully, protocols, schedules, boundaries. That speaks to character. I shrugged. Or business sense. 20 years taught me a few things. Tell me about your company, he said. What made it special? For the first time since its collapse, I spoke freely about Elegance by Harper, a one-woman startup grown into a 47-person team serving corporate clients across the Midwest. Every event was personalized, impossible problems solved. The mayor once called us the Navy SEALs of event planning. Until the seafood incident, he noted gently. Yes. One equipment failure, one night, and 20 years vanished. Victor studied me closely. The business world is merciless. One misstep erases 1,000 successes. That happened to you? Yes. A misstep, I said boldly. He raised an eyebrow, intrigued by my directness. Your family situation is complicated, I added. No visitors. No one close. He gestured to the private clinic. I'm hardly alone. I have a full team, and now you, my lifeline. Not the same as family. Perhaps not. Yet you're hardly surrounded by loved ones yourself, your daughter in Chicago, your sister strained. The observation is accurate. I changed the subject. Anything you want to do before surgery? a place to visit. He smiled faintly. You sound as if offering a dying man a last wish. A distraction, I corrected. Counting down to surgery isn't good for stress. He considered it seriously. There's a small art gallery in the old town I've wanted to see. Then we should go, I said impulsively. After coordinating with the medical team, we left in his private limousine, a nurse monitoring vitals discreetly. The gallery had closed to the public for us, a reminder of the power he wielded even in weakness. Victor lingered at pieces that challenged norms. What do you see in this one? He asked, pausing before a chaotic canvas of reds on dark backgrounds. It looks like a bloodbath, I said, unfiltered. He laughed, a sound that softened his austere features. Exactly why I value your company, Evelyn. Honest, unpretentious. I said suddenly, call me Evelyn. If we're bound by blood, literally, we might as well use first names. He repeated it thoughtfully. Evelyn. And I am Victor, he said, though most people called him Vic, not Mr. Ashford, I teased lightly. Only those who want something from me call me that, he replied with a smirk. We wandered through the gallery, our conversation flowing naturally. For a few hours, I wasn't thinking about Mark's manipulations, my finances, or the surreal circumstances I was caught in. I was simply Evelyn again, curious, engaged, present. Returning to the clinic, my phone buzzed with 3 missed calls from Sophie and a text that froze my blood. Dad came to my apartment. He knows about the Ashford situation. It's in the financial press, some article about a rare blood donor saving a banking mogul. He's talking about family interests and community property. Call me ASAP. I dialed her immediately, hands trembling. What did he say exactly? I asked. He's claiming that since you were technically still married when you arranged the Ashford agreement, he's entitled to half as community property. He's consulted a lawyer, Mom. I closed my eyes, the fragile calm of the afternoon shattering. Of course Mark would try to claim what was mine. Did he threaten you? I asked, my voice protective. Not exactly, Sophie said. He tried to charm me, like he always does when he wants something. But when I told him to leave, he said I should consider my future and how the money could benefit all of us as a family. I swallowed the familiar bile of his manipulation. I'll handle it, I promised. Our separation agreement had been signed before either of us knew about my golden blood or the potential compensation. That had to protect me. But doubt crept in. Could it matter legally? After hanging up, I slumped on the edge of the bed, exhausted in a way unrelated to donation. The universe seemed determined to remind me that every silver lining came with a storm cloud. Just when I had a lifeline, Mark's grasping hands reached for it. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. Lily appeared, concern on her face. Bad news from home? She asked. Mark's trying to claim half the Ashford money, I admitted. She hardened. Some people show their true colors when money is involved. Mark showed his months ago, I replied. This is just the encore. The morning of Victor's surgery was crisp and bright, the Alps sharp against a cloudless sky. My final pre-surgery donation the day before had left me surprisingly strong, thanks to the clinic's intensive nutrition and rest protocols. From my balcony, I watched a medical helicopter land on the roof, presumably bringing the specialized surgical team. My phone buzzed with Sophie's text, thinking of you today. Let me know how it goes with Mr. Ashford's surgery. I smiled. Despite everything, she retained her empathy. There had been no further contact from Mark since my attorney sent a cease and desist letter. Whether it would hold remained uncertain, but today, I set aside those worries. Today was about Victor and the bizarre twist of fate that had brought us together. A knock announced Simon Ashford, more formally dressed than usual. Mrs. Harper, he corrected himself, echoing Victor's preference. Mr. Ashford requested to see you before surgery. Is that allowed? I asked, surprised. It's unorthodox, but he insisted, Simon replied. I followed him to the surgical wing, donning sterile garments over my clothes. Victor lay on a gurney, monitors attached, 4 in place. The hospital gown replaced his usual bespoke suit, making him seem smaller, more vulnerable. Evelyn, he said, voice steady, thank you for coming. Of course, I said, moving closer. How are you feeling? Physically? About as expected before chest surgery. He tried to joke, but tension lingered in his voice. Mental? That's why I asked you here, he whispered, lowering his voice. There's a chance I won't survive this. The doctors are confident, I began, but he shook his head. They're excellent. Your blood gives me the best chance. But I'm 62 with a congenital heart defect. The odds are real, he said, eyes locked on mine. If things go wrong, Simon has instructions regarding your compensation. You'll receive the full amount regardless. I wasn't worried about that, I said honestly. I know. That's why I wanted to tell you. You've shown me genuine human connection. You came to help your daughter, not yourself. You negotiated fairly. You treated me as a person, not an account. That matters. I swallowed hard, moved by the sincerity in his eyes. You'll be fine, Victor. And when you recover, perhaps you can use some of your resources to find more people like you, golden-blooded donors, so no one else has to scramble in desperation. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Already thinking like a philanthropist. Money changes people, I said lightly. Precisely, he agreed, serious again. I wasn't always wealthy. I built Ashford Banking Group from a small regional operation into a global powerhouse. I've seen what money does. Before I could respond, Dr. Keller entered, his expression signaling urgency. We need to proceed, Victor, he said. Victor nodded, turning back to me. Whatever happens, thank you for your blood. It's worth more than $3 million. Then you overpaid, I teased, easing the tension. With that, he signaled Dr. Keller, ready for surgery. I returned to my suite, where Lily awaited with breakfast and strict instructions to rest. The surgery will take at least 8 hours. There's nothing to do but wait. Waiting had never been my strong suit. I tried reading, watching TV, even scrolling news sites. Each distraction only heightened the strange anxiety I felt for Victor. You're really worried about him, aren't you? Lily observed, bringing tea mid-morning. Is that strange? I asked. Not at all. You've literally given your blood to save him. That creates a connection. It's more than that, I admitted. We've talked a lot these past days. He's not what I expected. Lily nodded knowingly. Victor's reputation is cutthroat, but underneath all that, he's human, facing mortality alone, like you when Mark left and your business collapsed. Perhaps that's why you connect. By noon, Simon returned with lunch and an update. The surgery was progressing as expected, no complications. You've developed quite an interest in his welfare, he noted. Shouldn't I? I deflected. In 15 years with Victor, I've rarely seen him connect with anyone the way he does with you. It's unexpected. We're hardly friends, I protested. He doesn't just have conversations, Simon said. Every interaction has a purpose. The words unsettled me. Were our talks strategic, or genuine? My phone chimed. An email from my divorce attorney, Mark's lawyer, had requested disclosure of the Ashford agreement. Even thousands of miles away, his grasping influence reached me. I forwarded the email to the attorney handling my Ashford contract, requesting guidance. The rest of the day crawled. I spoke with Julia, Sophie, and avoided details about Victor that could reach Mark. At 7 p.m., Dr. Keller appeared, exhaustion in every line of his face. "Surgery is complete," he announced. "And the prognosis?" I asked, heart pounding. "The next 48 hours are critical," he said cautiously. "But we achieved everything surgically. Your blood performed exactly as needed. Without it," his pause said enough. I sank into a chair, relief washing over me. "When can I see him?" Dr. Keller raised an eyebrow. "He'll be unconscious for at least 24 hours. "I'll wait," I said firmly. Finally, on the 4th day post-surgery, I was allowed to visit Victor. He was awake, heavily medicated, and fragile, yet the same man I had come to respect. Various tubes and monitors surrounded him, their rhythmic beeps and soft hums a constant reminder of the fragile life they protected. "Evelyn," he rasped when he saw me, his voice rougher than usual. "Where else would I be?" I replied, sliding into the chair beside his bed. "Someone has to make sure all that golden blood wasn't wasted." A faint shadow of his usual smile touched his lips. Practical as ever. We sat quietly for a while, the monitor's persistent rhythm a strange accompaniment to the tension and unspoken connection between us. Finally, he broke the silence, each word deliberate and effortful. "I had a dream during surgery." "You were there. Planning an event?" I asked lightly. "No," he murmured, his eyes clouded by medication yet fixed on me. "You were standing at a crossroads, holding something bright, and you offered it to me. Then it faded." He frowned slightly, struggling to hold on to the memory. "Sounds like an anesthesia dream," I said, though unease crept over me. "Or symbolic," he countered, shifting in his chair with a wince. "You literally offered me your life." "For $3 million, I reminded him, unable to resist a small jab. "We both know it wasn't only about money," he said softly, then drifted into sleep, fatigue overtaking him. I stayed beside him until his breathing evened, troubled by the weight of his words. Somewhere along this improbable journey, our arrangement had evolved beyond a mere transaction. I found myself caring for this man, not his wealth, not his power, but him, his recovery, his future, and the isolation his position had forced upon him. As I left the ICU, I nearly collided with a tall, impeccably dressed man with sharp features softened by youth. "Mrs. Harper?" he asked, extending his hand. "Lucas Ashford. Victor's son." I took his hand, noting the firm grip and assessing gaze. "You've come from Singapore." Lucas's expression flickered, defensiveness, perhaps. "Contrary to any suggestion, our family cares about his well-being." "I gathered as much," I replied diplomatically. Victor mentioned little about his family. Lucas's eyes hinted skepticism, but he let it pass. "Doctors credit your blood with saving his life. We owe you more than gratitude." His rehearsed tone reminded me of Mark at his most polished. How much did this young man know about my arrangement with Victor? "I should let you see your father," I said. "Actually, I'd like to speak privately first," Lucas said, motioning to the waiting area. "There are aspects of your agreement I'd like to understand." Alarm bells rang in my head. Any discussions about the contract must include Simon Ashford and the attorneys who drafted it. "Of course," he said smoothly. "I simply thought a preliminary conversation might help. My father can be impulsive regarding health." "Your father struck me as deliberate, and I found Simon thorough," I countered. Lucas's smile tightened. "My concern is simple. Victor has developed a personal interest in you beyond the medical need for your blood. This could complicate matters once he regains full clarity." The implication stung. He suspected I might be manipulating Victor. "I have no designs beyond the original agreement. Any personal connection was initiated by Victor, not me." He nodded, eyes assessing. "I'm protecting family interests during a delicate time." "I understand," I said, thinking of Mark and his sudden interest in family when money was involved. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm due for a follow-up. That evening, Lily found me on the balcony, twilight painting the mountains in shades of lavender and gold. She handed me a glass of wine. You look troubled. Is it Victor's condition? She asked. Partly, and a tense conversation with his son, I admitted. The prodigal son arrives, she said, leaning casually against the railing. Already, the staff are noticing him. Very corporate, very demanding. He thinks you're taking advantage. I frowned. He does. But I'm not. Then why does it matter what Lucas thinks? Lily asked bluntly. Because I care more about Victor than I expected. Her eyes softened. Then own it. Whatever's happening, it's between you and him. Not his son, not Simon, not me. Nothing's happening, I insisted. Perhaps not yet. You've connected, found common ground despite different worlds, she said knowingly. By the way, Simon mentioned they plan to move you to the residential wing tomorrow. Victor is stable enough that you don't need to be right at his side medically. I blinked, surprised by a flicker of disappointment. Moving farther from him felt odd. That makes sense, I said. How much longer in Switzerland? Another 2, maybe 3 weeks, Lily said. They need you nearby for any complications, plus follow-up donations once Victor is stronger. 2 more weeks in this bubble, between my past life and the unknown ahead. 2 more weeks navigating recovery, complex family dynamics, and my own uncertain future. What will you do when you return? Lily asked. Start over, I suppose, I said. Pay debts, secure Sophie's schooling. Professionally. I wasn't sure. 20 years in one business doesn't prepare you for midlife reinvention. You could use your experience helping others navigate crises, Lily suggested. The idea resonated, echoing conversations I'd shared with Victor about transforming failure into opportunity. Before I could consider it further, my phone buzzed. Simon's text, Victor insists on seeing you. Rest is secondary. Nothing's happening. Lily teased. Probably just impatience, I said, setting down my glass. You know how particular patients can be. I headed to the ICU. Whatever this connection with Victor was, it deserved acknowledgement, not denial. And if his son or anyone else had opinions, I could handle it. I had survived far worse. The residential wing of Clinique des Alpes was a 5-star alpine suite. Under different circumstances, I might have reveled in the luxury. Instead, my mind was split between Victor's recovery, Mark's legal maneuvers, and my uncertain future. Victor moved from ICU to a private suite the same day I transferred. Though still weak, his authority re-emerged. Within days, he had a modified work schedule, reviewing banking matters via secure tablet, holding brief video calls with executives, much to Dr. Keller's frustration. He survived major surgery less than a week ago, and he's already at work, Dr. Keller grumbled when I passed him. Some tendencies are hardwired, I said with a small laugh. Clearly, the doctor said, eyes sharp, before continuing his rounds. Later, I returned for our afternoon conversation. Victor sat upright in a recliner, color slowly returning. You look stronger, I said. Appearances deceive, he replied, but nodded. Thanks to your golden contribution, progress is being made. And Lucas? I asked, noting the financial reports on his table. Victor's expression tightened. He manages efficiently while reminding me of my mortality. He's concerned about your welfare, and about your relationship with me. Heat rose to my face. He implied something. I apologized for his presumption. Lucas views the world through risk and assets. A hint of regret, perhaps. Your priorities seem different, I observed. Nothing clarifies priorities like facing death, he said, wincing slightly. He suddenly shifted the subject. I've been thinking about your situation back in Chicago. I stiffened. Your ex-husband, your career, Sophie's schooling, he gestured to a folder on the table. Simon and I have researched options. I blinked. I never asked for assistance beyond our original agreement. Victor studied me carefully, his eyes sharp despite his frailty. You're offended, he remarked. I'm surprised, I said, though he wasn't entirely wrong. I manage my own affairs just fine. Of course you do, he replied, sliding a folder across the bed. But why struggle when I have resources that could be useful to you? I hesitated, torn between pride and practicality. Curiosity finally won out, and I opened the folder. Inside were several documents, an analysis of Illinois divorce law regarding separation agreements and newly discovered assets, information on a prestigious European arts college with a renowned architecture program, and most surprisingly, a detailed business plan for a consulting firm specializing in crisis recovery for businesses facing catastrophic setbacks. What is this? I asked, holding up the business plan. An idea sparked by our conversations, he said, voice calm but eyes betraying uncertainty. You have a rare perspective, someone who built a successful business, endured a major collapse, and is now rebuilding. That insight is invaluable. I flipped through the pages, projections, market analysis, potential clients. The concept was elegant in its simplicity, turning personal experience into guidance for businesses in crisis. I was impressed, and unnerved. This is thorough, I said finally. I'm not sure how to feel about you developing this without my knowledge. I have excellent analysts, he replied simply. And a knack for recognizing untapped potential. Untapped potential. The words came sharper than intended. You are many things, Evelyn Harper, he said quietly. Most of which have nothing to do with money or blood type. The air between us shifted, charged with unspoken tension. A knock at the door announced Dr. Keller's arrival for Victor's scheduled examination. Relieved and frustrated at once, I excused myself, taking the folder. Back in my suite, I spread the documents across the table. The divorce analysis confirmed what my attorney had suggested. Mark's claim on the R2R payment was weak, especially given our clear separation agreement. The college brochure revealed a scholarship program for exceptional international students. Sophie might qualify. But it was the business plan that kept drawing me in. Eventuality Consulting, the tagline, Beyond Crisis Management. A way to transform my personal disaster into professional wisdom. My phone buzzed. Sophie. Mom, have you checked your email? Her excitement crackled through the line. No. Why? They invited me to submit my portfolio for a full scholarship at the International College of Design in Geneva. They said I was recommended for exceptional talent. Her voice softened. Did you have something to do with this? I glanced at the brochure. Not directly, I hedged. Victor. Sophie pressed. He's prone to grand gestures, I said lightly, avoiding her question. Well, I'm submitting anyway. This school is incredible, top 5 worldwide for architecture. After hanging up, I stared at the business plan. Victor's gesture went far beyond gratitude. He was offering not just financial compensation but a tangible future for Sophie and me, a way to rebuild from the past rather than erase it. But why? What did he gain from investing in our lives? Business? Philanthropy? Something more personal neither of us could name yet. Twilight settled over the Alps, the peaks shifting from gold to dusky purple. I decided, tomorrow I would confront Victor about his intentions, and perhaps examine my own. The next morning, Lily's text read, Emergency with Victor overnight. Stable now, but rough few hours. My heart skipped. I called immediately. What happened? Post-surgical complication, Lily explained. Fluid around the heart. Emergency procedure needed. He's stable now, but it was touch and go. Why wasn't I called? I demanded, pulling clothes from the closet. He specifically asked not to disturb you. That infuriating man. I dressed quickly and rushed to the medical wing, finding Lucas pacing outside Victor's room, rumpled and exhausted. Mrs. Harper, he acknowledged stiffly. I'm surprised they notified you. They didn't, I replied lightly. How is he? Stable. Dr. Keller says the immediate danger has passed. A muscle twitched in Lucas's jaw. Father is asking for you. Has been since regaining consciousness, despite me at his bedside. I softened. He values you greatly. You ran his Asian operations exceptionally well. Lucas blinked in surprise before masking his pride. Father said that. Yes, and he noted your shared focus on risk management and asset protection. Lucas offered a reluctant smile. Sounds like him. Perhaps we should both visit, I suggested. An olive branch. You're not what I expected, Mrs. Harper, he said, gaze studying me. Evelyn, please, I corrected. And what did you expect? Someone opportunistic. Your father's vulnerability might have seemed tempting. Lucas looked slightly embarrassed. From the outside, it might have looked that way. Not true. I had no idea of my blood's value. Victor's team sought me out, not the other way around, I said firmly. When we entered Victor's room, he looked frail, ashen against white linens, tubes and monitors attached, yet his eyes sparked when he saw us enter together. A united front, he said, voice weak but sardonic. Should I be concerned? Absolutely, I replied, taking a chair beside him. Lucas remained standing. We're forming an alliance to enforce proper rest, I said. Physician, heal thyself, Lucas added with unexpected warmth. Victor's gaze shifted between us, assessing. Interesting. What's interesting is you specifically weren't notified of last night's episode. Care to explain? You needed your rest, he said with a faint smile. There was nothing you could have done. That's not your decision, I said firmly. Not after all we've endured, Lucas interjected. I should give you privacy, Lucas offered. No, stay, Victor said. This concerns both of you. Last night reminded me of mortality. Contingencies must be arranged. Father, you'll recover fully, Lucas said, moving closer. Perhaps, but recovery is more complex than expected. Victor fixed me with his gaze. Evelyn, about the business proposal. I want to move forward. Move forward? I asked, confused. Our banking group has clients facing catastrophic setbacks. Your experience could guide them. He glanced at Lucas. I've allocated initial funding for eventuality consulting as a subsidiary. Lucas oversees finances, you develop methodology and client approach. Lucas blinked. I'm just hearing this. Father, are you certain? I am, Victor said, his authority unbroken. Your perspective on failure is unique. Combined with our resources, it's a significant opportunity. So you want me to work for Arthur, with you as a partner, creating something new that leverages your infrastructure while staying independent? Correct, Victor said. Documents are in my private safe, Simon has the combination. Lucas hesitated, torn between curiosity and concern. We'll discuss further when you're stronger, Lucas said. Discussing now, Victor replied firmly. I may not have perfect timing. The blunt acknowledgement of mortality silenced us. I leaned forward, meeting Victor's gaze. Why do this? The truth, he said, exhaustion lining his face, eyes still piercing. Some debts can't be repaid with money. Talent shouldn't go unused. You rebuilt me with your blood. I offer the same chance for rebuilding in return. The honesty struck me. This wasn't merely a business or philanthropic gesture. It was personal, a recognition of shared experience across vastly different worlds. Lucas cleared his throat. I'll review the documents carefully. If this is serious, it deserves diligence. After he left, silence settled. Victor's voice, quieter now, asked, Evelyn, would you consider it? I studied him. This man had upended my life as completely as my blood had saved his. Could I build something new from the ashes of my old life, especially with him and his family so deeply entwined? Because of Lucas's suspicions, or my own? Perhaps both. I paused, choosing honesty. I'm not entirely sure what this is between us, Victor. Whatever it is, it complicates a business relationship. His expression softened slightly. Yes, it does. And yet, you're proposing one anyway. I'm offering an opportunity, I countered. What you do with it, professionally or personally, remains your choice. He shifted, wincing. Last night, while they were rushing me back into surgery, I had a moment of perfect clarity. Do you know what I regretted most in that instant? I shook my head. Not the deals I missed, the wealth I amassed, or even the relationships I neglected. What I regretted was the possibility of not seeing what you would do next. How you would rebuild your life, with or without the resources I could provide. A faint smile touched his lips, oddly specific for a man facing potential death. The weight of his words hung between us, unspoken implications neither of us yet had the courage to name. Before I could respond, Dr. Keller entered with a team of nurses. We'll need privacy, Mrs. Harper, he said apologetically. I rose, reluctant to leave. I'll consider your proposal, I told Victor. Do, he said simply. But don't overthink it. You have excellent instincts, Evelyn. Trust them. Walking back to my apartment, his words replayed in my mind. Trust my instincts, the same ones that had built a successful business only to see it collapse, the same that had kept me in a failing marriage with Mark far too long, and now the same instincts drawing me toward a complex entanglement with a billionaire whose blood contained my own. Beneath the uncertainty, a small voice whispered, this is a genuine path forward. Not a return to what was lost, but something entirely new. 3 weeks after Victor's surgery, I stood by the window of my Chicago apartment. Not the penthouse I'd lost, but a comfortable 2-bedroom overlooking the lake. The first portion of the Ashford settlement had cleared my pressing debts and provided a fresh start. The apartment was sparsely furnished, walls bare, ready for new memories. Only my desk held traces of the past, a crystal award from the Chamber of Commerce honoring my contributions to hospitality, and a framed photo of Sophie at her high school graduation. My phone buzzed. Sophie. Apartment hunting in Geneva tomorrow. Can't believe I got the scholarship. I'll call with options. I smiled, pride swelling. The International College of Design had not only accepted Sophie's portfolio, but awarded her the Global Innovator Scholarship. Regardless of Victor's influence, my daughter was building her own future, just as I was. The eventuality consulting plan lay open on my table, surrounded by notes, market research, and client profiles. After weeks of consideration and video calls with Lucas and Simon Ashford, I decided to proceed, with modifications. Instead of a subsidiary, Eventuality would be my own company, with R2R Banking Group as a minority investor and strategic partner. I retained full control over methodology and client approach while benefiting from their resources. Independence preserved, practicality respected. My phone rang. Simon. Evelyn, he greeted warmly, a shift from his formal tone in Switzerland. Partnership agreements are signed. Everything is on track. And Victor? I asked. Recovery is steady. He's working half-days from Zurich, much to Dr. Keller's frustration. Some patients are more cooperative than others, I observed. Yes, Simon agreed. He asked about your visit next month. Should I confirm? Yes. Dates remain the same. I returned to the window, twilight reflecting on Lake Michigan, reminding me of those quiet Swiss evenings when an uncertain future had begun to take shape. A knock interrupted my thoughts. Not expecting anyone, I opened the door to find Mark. Evelyn, he greeted, immaculate as ever, his smile practiced. Now it struck me as polished charm rather than warmth. Mark. What do you want? I asked, coolly, not inviting him in. I thought we should talk, he said, hesitating. Our attorneys are making things unnecessarily contentious. They are doing their jobs, I replied. Mine protecting my interests, yours trying to claim what's legally yours. Mark's smile tightened. There's no need for hostility. We were married for 25 years. Surely we can discuss things reasonably. We could have, I said. When my business collapsed, when I had nothing, you walked away. When Sophie had to leave college, you chose to disappear. I panicked, he admitted. I didn't handle it well. And now that I have resources, you've had a change of heart. How convenient. That's unfair, he said, expression hardening. I've had months to reflect. Coincidentally, the same months during which news of my golden blood and Victor's connection had made headlines. I leaned against the doorframe. Did you know Sophie received a prestigious scholarship in Europe? No thanks to you. I heard, he admitted. Julia mentioned it. Yes, she did. Despite myself, I softened. He'd been a present father when he chose to be. May I come in? Just a few minutes. I have a proposal for an amicable resolution. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. He surveyed the apartment, assessing silently. I see you've started fresh, he commented. In more ways than one, I replied, gesturing to the couch while remaining standing. What's your proposal? I'll drop all claims to the Ashford settlement in exchange for a one-time payment. Clean break, no further legal entanglements. How generous, I said, sarcasm unhidden. And what would this cost me? He named a sum, substantial, but far less than expected. Under different circumstances, I might have considered it. But something in me had changed. No, I said simply. You have no legal claim. The separation agreement clearly divided our assets. The settlement with Victor came months after you left. You abandoned me when I had nothing. You don't get to return now. His facade cracked. This new confidence doesn't suit you, Evelyn. Victor's billions may dazzle, but you're out of your depth. I'm rebuilding, I said firmly, while you come knocking for handouts. My attorneys will send our final position. This conversation is over. Once he left, I returned to the window, surprised by my calm. 6 months ago, Mark's abandonment had shaken me to my core. Now, it barely registered. My phone rang again. Victor. Bad time? He asked. Perfect, I said, settling into my chair. Mark just left. Ah, he said softly, a single syllable heavy with understanding. And? Better than expected, I said. For me, anyway. Not for his ego. Victor chuckled. I wish I could have seen it. You're formidable when motivated. Apparently a quality we share, I said lightly. How are the partnership arrangements progressing? We spoke for minutes about eventuality consulting, structure, clients, marketing, before the conversation softened. Have you decided? He asked, voice quieter. I gazed at the darkening lake, weighing my answer. Victor's secondary proposal, spending 6 months in Chicago post-recovery, was as personal as the business plan. Yes, I said. I think we should see where this goes without hospitals and billions clouding it. And if it's nothing, then we'll have a successful business and an unusual friendship with a remarkable story of origins, he said softly. But I don't think it's nothing, I admitted. Neither do I. The simple acknowledgement carried more weight than any grand declaration ever could. 1 month until my trip. I had scheduled follow-up blood tests with Dr. Keller for Monday morning, leaving the rest of the week open for meetings, planning, and reflection. Victor and I spoke again for nearly an hour, covering everything from Sophie's apartment hunt in Geneva to the gradual transition of operational responsibilities to Lucas. Despite the complexities of our situation, the years between us, the distance, the stark difference in our financial realities, our conversation flowed naturally, with ease and mutual respect. After we hung up, I moved to my desk, reaching for the small vial I had kept there, a gift from Dr. Keller before I left Switzerland. Encased in clear resin, it held a tiny sample of my golden blood, a reminder of the extraordinary, often unrecognized value I had carried all along. In the soft lamplight, it glowed a deep crimson, almost like a heartbeat preserved in amber. I returned to the dining table and opened a blank notebook. At the top of the first page, I wrote, Eventuality, Beyond Crisis Management. Below that, Chapter 1, The Value Within. This story wasn't about blood or wealth, or even about second chances thrust upon me. It was about discovering real worth, independent of circumstance, fortune, or recognition. About resilience, clarity, and the courage to start over when life demanded it. A lesson I hope to share with others facing moments of collapse, when the world seems determined to test your limits. Outside, the Chicago skyline glittered under the night sky. From this vantage point, it was as breathtaking as it had ever been from the penthouse I once called home, but different, like my life itself. Irrevocably changed, yet somehow truer to who I was. Not defined by what I had lost, but by what I had uncovered within myself. Golden blood, yes. But also a deeper sense of strength, perspective, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. Not an ending, but a new chapter, written on my terms, guided by insight, hard-won experience, and unexpected allies I never could have imagined when I walked into that donation center seeking $40 and walked out with a future worth millions, and a story only just beginning.